Hello everyone. I hope you and your loved ones are all safe and well again this week. I'm pleased to report that we've had a great start to the new term. There's such a great atmosphere in the school and the pupils and the staff all seem to be enjoying school. Mind you, it's only been a few weeks since the term started, granted. As I noted last week, everyone to some degree or another were quite anxious about a return to the school after so long away from the building, but the new routines have really met with a huge seal of approval. Without the hard work and the dedication of all our staff, the adaptability and the resilience of our pupils and the support of our parents and carers, such a smooth transition to this new normal would not have been possible. So I'd just like to say, well done and thank you to you all. Just as we've been settling into a new routine, another guidance paper was issued by the Scottish Government for schools and local authorities. Whilst this 54-page document is similar to the one I issued to you last week, and you're probably still reading that, it does have a significant amendment, notably linked to the wearing of face coverings in schools and on school transport. Now, the detailed guidance can be found on the website for those that are interested. I also included a copy of the NHS Frequently Asked Questions and Answers paper, and I think that you'll really find that very useful. So that's attached to the parent letter, again on the website. All these letters and the previous ones linked to the Scottish Government papers can be found on the school website for reference. It's important to remember that the use of face coverings is just one of the ways in which we seek to keep our pupils and our community safe from the spread of COVID. The persistent use of hand sanitisers, constant cleaning of the touch points throughout the day, the timetable change that reduces the movement across the school, and the changes to the breaks and the lunches that are limiting the mixing of the bubbles are all extra things that we've put in place. And of course, parents and other partners aren't allowed in the building, and we're using phone calls and Google Meet to make sure that again limits the potential spread of COVID. We're also reminding pupils about the importance of carrying on the good hygiene practices when they're out and about in the community. And all these are contributing to the well-being of everyone in the community. The new guidance continues to assert that face coverings should not generally be required in classrooms or in other learning and teaching environments like the gym and the football park, etc. But they do need to be worn with adults when they can't keep a 2-metre distance and they're interacting with other adults or kids for more than 15 minutes or more. The addition to this existing guidance is that face coverings should also now be worn, unless the adult or the youngster is exempt from wearing a face covering, where adults and pupils are moving about the high school in corridors and in confined communal areas such as toilets and canteen facilities. As we'd already made the decision that all our pupils in the primary and the secondary would wear a face covering in all our buses, in our ferries, in our trains, in our planes, there's no change to that for us. There are some key things for us to consider now. Face covering should not be shared with others. Before putting on and removing the face covering, our hands should be cleaned by washing with soap and water or using the hand sanitisers. We need to make sure the face covering is the right size to cover the nose, mouth and chin. When temporarily storing the face covering, for example during the class, it should be placed in a washable sealed bag or a container. We need to avoid placing it on surfaces due to the possibility of contamination. Reusable face coverings should be washed after each day of use in 60° centigrade water or in boiling water. Disposable face coverings must be disposed of safely and hygienically, and we need to encourage our young people not to litter. Put them in the bin. Pupils may remove their face coverings when they're in the canteen areas, when they're eating, but after they've had their lunch and they're using these areas for socialising, face coverings need to be put back on. The Scottish Government's noted that everyone, including children of high school age, are likely to have face coverings by now, given that they've been a necessity across society for the last few months. However, if anyone does not have a face mask, they will be provided with a disposable one when they arrive at school, and we'll also provide them with a disposable bag on Monday, tomorrow, to start them off with the idea that they need to keep them in a bag when they're not in use. Now, for the last couple of years, many of our staff were using Google Classroom with our senior pupils, and during lockdown all the staff developed this skill and we started to use the facility for all pupils across all age groups. We're aware that over the coming months that it's likely we'll be having a notable number of pupils who will be absent from school as they are forced to self-isolate or be absent from school because they live in a household that's isolating. So to combat the potential loss of learning, all our staff are loading their lessons onto Google Classroom on an ongoing basis, and this will ensure that the children will be able to access their schoolwork when they're stuck at home. Now obviously, if a child's ill, we don't expect them to work from home. If anyone needs any support with accessing any of our online provision, then please let us know. This week, the nursery continued its theme of sharing and caring, being together. It's wonderful to see all the children back in nursery, playing and learning together. We've utilised the nursery garden extensively and had several local walks too. The children have adapted marvellously well in the changes, some of the nursery routines, and thanks to the support of their parents, carers and the nursery team. As you know, we needed to move all of our session times. We moved them forward by about 10 minutes in order to ensure the nursery bubble could access the nursery prior to the primary bubble arriving and the primary playtimes and lunches. Once again, many thanks to everyone who's made these changes work so well. You'll notice that at collection times, we're trying to ensure that all the items belonging to your children return home with them. Lunchbox, coats, hats, etc. If you can make sure all the items have your child's name on them, this will make it easy for our staff to work with. We're also keeping their changes of clothes in school in a secure area for when they're required, rather than travelling back and forth between nursery and home. Although of course once they've used them, we need to send them home for you to wash at 60 degrees. The primary pupils have settled back into the routines of school very well indeed, and it's lovely to see everyone back there, learning and playing alongside each other. This week, the primary 6 and primary 7 pupils have been invited to apply to be primary school house captains and primary school vice house captains. Each of the school houses, Columba, Claymore and Clansman, will soon have reps, and we'll let you know as soon as that's been announced, perhaps next week. The start and end times of the primary school day have remained unchanged. However, in order to allow the access to the nursery for our nursery children, primary pupils can access playground from 8:40 onwards. Children arriving prior to this time have to wait with their parents until the supervising staff member opens the gate at 8:40. Again, this is to help ensure that the bubbles don't mix. Many of you will notice that the car park's now been lined. This is now the parents' car park. Further, the area next to the high school end has had the roundabout removed, and that's also been lined. This is now the staff car park. Now, why have we done this? Having separate staff and parent-pupil entrances will limit the numbers entering through the front door at roughly the same time each morning, and they will allow everyone to park their car in a way that makes it safer for our children. You'll also notice that we've extended the new fence line. Why have we done that? As we now have to keep our high school pupils separate from the primary pupils, they need a clearly defined social area outside, and one which is safe. By extending the fence line and adding additional seating, we're providing a safe area for them to sit and relax away from the primary pupils area. The fence line stops cars parking on that side of the road, and it prevents pupils from emerging through the parked cars when they're returning to school. It also ensures our staff have a clear line of sight between the school side and the primary grass and secondary grass play areas and onto the pitch. So this will help with the necessary additional supervision that we need to put in, because we now have 3 separate play areas over there. From observing the arrival of parents and staff over the last few weeks, it's clear that nursery parents will easily find space that early in the morning in the parents' car park. As we now have a second car park, almost all the staff will be able to park there. If the car parks are full, parents should feel free to pull in and drop their children off. The fence line at the high school end has been set further back for a quick drop-off place. We do insist that you don't park up along the fence line and leave your car unattended though, because that prevents staff from supervising the play areas and prevents us from having a clear line of sight for safety reasons. As always, should you have any questions or wish to contact us for any reason, please email Miss Coleman for primary or Ms Forbes for secondary communication, or you just use the contact page on the website. Please remember to use the email and give us some details as to your request or concern, and this allows the team to be better prepared to call you back. Please only call the office if it's urgent, as our staff are either teaching or they're supporting our pupils. They will reply to an email as soon as they're free. I hope the weather stays fine for you this week, and I hope you have a lovely week ahead. Thank you very much for your continuing support. We really all appreciate it.